4 years, he stood at the center of power, a figure whose influence echoed through political corridors, boardrooms, and security briefings. Today, he stands behind reinforced walls, his name no longer associated with authority, but with investigation and incarceration. The fall of Michael Sandlana is not merely the story of one man's legal battle. It is a story about power, accountability, and the fragile line between influence and consequence in modern South Africa. This is the untold story of how prominence turned into prosecution, and why the nation is still watching. In recent years, Michael Sandlana emerged as a controversial yet influential figure within South Africa's political landscape. Known for his close proximity to key institutions and his reported involvement in high-level operations, Sandlana's name frequently surfaced in conversations about security, governance, and internal political struggles. Reports suggest that he operated in spaces where law enforcement, intelligence networks, and political interests often intersect. According to sources familiar with his trajectory, Sandlana's influence grew during a period marked by intense factional battles within the ruling establishment. South Africa has long grappled with tensions between reformists and entrenched power structures. In that environment, figures like Sandlana gained prominence, individuals seen by some as insiders with deep institutional knowledge, and by others as symbols of a system in need of transparency. The turning point came when allegations began to surface regarding Sandlana's conduct. While official documentation remains subject to court processes, reports indicate that investigators began scrutinizing his activities amid concerns about procedural irregularities and potential abuse of authority. According to publicly discussed claims, authorities sought clarity on whether certain actions linked to Sandlana crossed legal boundaries. These allegations, which have not been fully adjudicated in court, triggered a chain reaction. Search operations were reportedly conducted. Documents were examined. Alliances were questioned. What had once been whispered in political circles was now front-page news. Importantly, Sandlana has maintained his legal rights under South African law, and the judicial process continues to unfold within the framework of constitutional protections. In a country shaped by its commitment to the rule of law, every accused individual is entitled to due process, and this case is no exception. Yet the symbolism of his arrest carried undeniable weight. The moment of detention marked a dramatic shift. A man once described as well-connected within state structures now found himself subject to the authority of those very systems. Observers noted the irony. South Africa's democratic framework, strengthened since 1994, has increasingly emphasized institutional accountability. Anti-corruption drives, internal reforms, and heightened scrutiny of public officials have reshaped the political climate. Sandlana's incarceration, according to legal analysts, reflects a broader pattern, a period in which enforcement agencies appear more willing to pursue complex and politically sensitive cases. The move sent a message: proximity to power does not equal immunity. Within certain political circles, there were calls for patience, emphasizing that allegations must be tested in court. Others framed the developments as evidence that long-standing concerns about internal governance were finally being addressed. South Africa's political environment remains highly dynamic. Coalition arrangements, policy disputes, and leadership debates continue to shape the national conversation. In this climate, any high-profile legal action inevitably carries political undertones. Supporters of reform argue that visible accountability strengthens democracy. Critics warn against trial by media and the dangers of reputational damage before verdicts are reached. Both perspectives reflect the delicate balance South Africa must maintain between transparency and fairness, between urgency and due process. South Africans have lived through years of revelations involving state capture, institutional breakdown, and governance challenges. Trust in public institutions has fluctuated, often depending on whether actions are perceived as genuine reform or political maneuvering. If investigations are thorough and impartial, confidence in the justice system could strengthen. If proceedings appear inconsistent or politically motivated, skepticism may deepen. Civil society organizations have emphasized the importance of transparency, calling for clear communication from authorities while respecting the integrity of ongoing legal processes. South Africa's prosecutorial and investigative bodies now operate under intense scrutiny. Since the era of widespread corruption inquiries, institutions such as the National Prosecuting Authority have worked to rebuild credibility. In Sandlana's case, authorities appear to be proceeding within established legal channels. Court appearances, procedural filings, and evidentiary reviews continue under judicial oversight. Legal experts caution that complex cases often require time. Documentation must be verified. Testimonies must be examined. Legal arguments must be tested against constitutional standards. In a democracy, outcomes are determined not by headlines, but by evidence. This story cannot be separated from the broader South African political narrative. Since the end of apartheid, the country has navigated transformation, economic pressure, and evolving governance models. Internal party divisions and coalition politics have added further complexity. Against this backdrop, the rise and fall of influential figures frequently symbolize deeper systemic tensions. Michael Sandlana's case highlights questions that extend beyond his personal circumstances.